Welcome to our 5th video in the IDC WIN 2024 Tech Day series. We hope you have enjoyed the videos. Remember that if you need more information on Equisoft, Advisor Stream, Conquest, or LDA, please contact us at IDC WIN Big. The team on the live chat can help you find additional information and direct you on how to sign up for any of these support tools. Let's watch now as Jarvie explains how to go beyond the sale and leverage technology to enhance the policy cycle.
You know, now that we went through Equisoft and your data in your CRM, we identified some clients. You may have sent them an article about critical illness, life insurance, tax changes. That article will have been sent out to them. You've called them, booked an appointment, gone and seen them, did some fact finding, gathered some data, put it in Conquest. And then you might have a situation where, heaven forbid, they want to see a product illustrated. So rather than just go with a company illustration, we obviously support and have since the beginning LDA. And LDA is probably, well, I can't think of a better presentation tool for life insurance than LDA. That comparative situation between whole life, universal life, and term, or comparing one whole life company over another whole life company or a product, universal life. You know, the three choices, the ABC close. So we have with us today, Jarvie, the expert of LDA. He's in charge of customer service, and he's going to talk about beyond the sale, leveraging technology to enhance the policy life cycle. So without any further ado, John, I'm going to let you take over and share your presentation with the group.
Fantastic. Thanks, Don, for the introduction, and thanks everybody for your time today. So yeah, as Don alluded to, the topic of my presentation today is leveraging technology to enhance how you manage a policy over its life cycle. Now, some of you here are probably familiar with LDA. Some of you might be completely new. LDA, we're actually very happy to be celebrating our 10th year anniversary in the insurance space here in Canada. That also means we're celebrating 10 years of being a partner and working with IDC, as our co-founding advisor, Larry Kinlan, was in fact a longtime IDC advisor. But some of the problems that exist in the industry, or even that kind of piggyback off of what's been talked about today, involve planning and the financial plan and how insurance fits into that financial plan. A lot of advisors that come to life design analysis initially, they're also implementing a tool such as Conquest or other options in the industry when evaluating a client's financial plan. And what we find is that, yes, they can identify how much insurance a client may need, but it usually leads to the end of the road for that interaction with the client, at least in that application. Meaning the advisor is then forced to follow the traditional ways of recommending insurance, which, as Don alluded to, are carrier illustrations, maybe using a CompuLife or a similar market survey application, and then taking that information and putting it into your own type of report, which obviously takes time and attention to design. So the experience for a client or the experience for you in going through that process is not the same. And that's where LDA can help out, especially with our presentations, which we're definitely most well known for. So just to summarize for anybody that's new to LDA, what we can do is create a white labeled presentation for any insurance situation, whether you're recommending a T10 product to your client and you want to include your compliance documents within it, or you're recommending an IFA scenario for a high net worth corporate business owner. LDA can be used for any scenario. It has a cohesive look and feel for every presentation, white labeled to you. Compliance documents are included in there. And ultimately, it's visual, it's interactive, and it's easy for the client to understand the insurance recommendations that you're presenting in there. Just to go over a quick example of what the reports look like for anybody that hasn't seen LDA, or maybe if it's been a little while, you can see here with the branding inside of the report, it's to LDA, but envision your logo, your colors, all that sort of stuff when we go through here. But even key compliance documents that are required as a compliant element within your sales process are also embedded in here automatically. Disclaimers, mission statements, we can add in additional documentation such as a reason why letter. Of course, you would fill in the blanks based on the need and recommendation for that tailored client you're working with. But we even have an insurance needs analysis, which takes the insurance need and FNA or financial needs analysis identifies and breaks it down into different components. By being able to do that, we can leverage this to show the client, well, as time goes on, as they get older, their needs will change, but they may still have a need for insurance at death or at life expectancy that we should be covering within our insurance recommendation. And that leads to the ultimate presentation, which can compare any carrier, any product type, any death benefit amount, or any amount of products. It doesn't have to be a comparison, but that's one of our strong suits just because of how difficult comparisons are to generate in this current stage in the market with what's provided by the carriers. And ultimately, everything is visualized for the client, making it very easy for them to see the differences in plan types over time. So here showing how a term policy is cheaper today and more expensive as time goes on, or how much they spend year to year to see that crossover point of when the term's more expensive, or if they need insurance at life expectancy, what's the better option? And of course, for us, it's so easy to tell that it's the blue line and the green line for the permanent plans. And we might know that beforehand, but the client might not. So being able to translate this in a way they can understand through visual, since most people are visual learners, has helped our subscribers increase their sales. In a recent survey, 86% of them saw an increase in FYC just by changing their presentation type to using LDA and showing insurance in this format. And we can take this a step further, whether it's cash value analysis and breaking that down over time, or comparing death benefits or showing how a death benefit may change if we design plans with layers in it, like I have here with this one with the term rider. But the format of these reports, the interactive style where we have the visuals, or we can even leverage the tables to show with it, this can be presented like I am to you today, virtually. It can be done face-to-face. We can share this report to a client so they can view it on their own device. Or of course, we can print out this report type. But again, it's an easy format to understand for your clients, to design for you as the advisor, so you're not spending a lot of time and attention on this, especially if your business is primarily focused on the investment side. Because let's face it, things in the insurance market, they do take lots of time, as we'll see in just a second. Now, bringing this back to the main topic of the presentation and managing policies throughout their life cycle. We understand here at LDA that the recommendation phase or the presentation phase is a small piece of the pie in your relationship with your client. So my question here for everybody is, what happens after you sell the policy to the client? So once the application's been completed, the policy is issued and in force, what's next? How do you manage the information for that policy? Where do you store it? How are you alerted of an opportunity, or how do you manage an opportunity that exists, whether it's a conversion or exchange option down the road? I ask this question to anybody that starts looking at life design analysis, and almost everyone falls under one of these three categories. They either create a custom document, they utilize a CRM, or they rely on the insurance carriers. So let's break down each one of these sections to talk more about them and what's involved. Starting with the custom spreadsheet. So this is a great option, and anybody that does this, they're diligent and they care about their clients and storing all that information all in one spot, because traditionally that's not how it's done. Now, when we're doing this, as we all know, the insurance carriers, they get their data, or the source of their data is always different. There's formatting that's involved in having to put this together to conform it to the same standards. There's considerations we have to make, such as, well, how do we document families? How do we document employees within a company? What if we purchase a block of business down the road, and how are we making updates to it? This all requires a lot of time, a lot of manual effort. And unfortunately, because we are creating this, we are all human, we all make mistakes. Sometimes the human error element comes into play and the information might not be 100% accurate. Plus, because it's not a CRM and there's no pings or alerts for notifications, it requires you to be fully proactive to identify opportunities. So it's definitely better than not having your own document, but it's rarely done by advisors because it takes so much time and attention to design and maintain. The next one is a CRM. CRMs, they are fantastic programs. I highly recommend a CRM, and there's a reason why so many different industries use a CRM within their business, including here at LDA. But because of that and the versatility of a CRM, It means out of the box, they are traditionally not designed for an advisor or for insurance client and policy data, meaning we have to conform that program and customize it to our needs, which takes a lot of time and primarily a lot of resources in order to design it that way. The other factor is we generally have to manually input that information through a document upload and formatting it through manual entry. And because those programs don't traditionally know the insurance policy lifecycle, we have to create tasks or notifications to stay on top of things. And again, the human element comes into play. Sometimes things slip away. So the CRM of all these is the best option, no doubt about it, but still there's a lot of time, there's a lot of attention that needs to be provided to it because, again, it's not traditionally built for the insurance space. And that leads to the last option, relying on the insurance carriers. I bet if I asked everybody here to raise their hand as far as who uses the carriers primarily to manage their insurance policies in their block of business, the overwhelming majority would be doing that. And there's a reason why. It's because it requires no work at all. This is provided to you by having a block of business with a carrier. Unfortunately, it's not a good experience for you or your clients. The reason for that is, well, one, you have to log into multiple different systems to gather all the data for your clients and your policies. So it's not stored in one centralized location. That's very time consuming, and it's really tedious having to go to those different options. And the notifications the carriers traditionally provide are very light in that policy's lifetime, especially for the initial term. So let's say a renewal notice comes in, it's traditionally 60 to 90 days before that happens, leaving you as the advisor with little time to act on that opportunity, schedule a meeting with a client, properly review their options, go through the necessary medical application that's required. And it's not a great experience for the client either, having to be rushed and contacted at the last minute as opposed to during the life cycle of their policy. So as we can see here, each one of these have gaps, primarily with the timing it takes to work on each of these options or consolidating this information. But there's also an aspect to like the resources that are required or the client experience and overall your experience. So that's where life design analysis comes into play and where we try to solve those problems and those gaps. So a lot of you don't know, but life design analysis can be used to manage your existing block of business. And with that, we can store all your client and policy data in one location. There are no limitations on the carriers that we can bring in. We load this information in on your behalf. And because we are designed for insurance, we're an out-of-the-box solution, meaning we know how to identify opportunities. So we do that automatically without you having to create a task. We have filters pre-built into the system for you to identify those opportunities if you're looking to be more proactive. And with the presentations we just saw earlier on, we can take their existing policy information, add it into a presentation, show a client their current plan versus new insurance recommendations. So instead of just talking about it, I figured I'd give a quick view of what that looks like. Here I'm inside the current version of LDA's client portal, where you can see your client and their policy information, where I can search for a client based on any of the main client criteria. Even I can search for a group of clients if I want to find them within a specific age range. I can search for a policy based on a specific number, a carrier, an issue date range, or death benefit range. And each client has their own view icon, which takes you to their client profile. We'll come back to that in a little bit. But if I was looking to identify clients that have a term 10 policy that are coming up for renewal, if I click on this option here, term 10 conversion, what this does is it will show me all the T10 policies in my block of business that are coming up for renewal. So what we do is we use today's date, 10 years ago, and list the policies in an earliest to latest order. So here we can see a slew of carriers from Canada Life to Empire, Equitable Life, but all of them are coming up on this list no matter what the carrier is because they're a T10, they were issued after today's date 10 years ago, and it is in that earliest to latest order. And like I mentioned, all of this information I can work with very easily to move into an insurance presentation to then act on the opportunity. So it's not a CRM because we do not define ourselves as a CRM. We do have features like a CRM, as you can clearly tell, but the idea behind it is we want to make it easy for you to take action on that opportunity. Because when you identify an opportunity or want to work with a client, you have to have something to trigger that meeting or to help you with that. And a lot of basic platforms may not have that for you. And that's what life design analysis can do to help save you time and act on any of those opportunities that you identify within your block of business. So that is something that we offer to anybody that is a subscriber to LDA. We'll talk about those options in just a little bit, but there's a step further that you can take with this, and that's managing the policy over its life cycle, not just selling a policy and then the other main one, which are the conversion opportunities, like what the carrier would notify you about if a renewal is coming up. Those are the obvious two, but there's other steps along the way when we should and can be interacting with our client, especially if they don't have other coverage options. So let's take a look at all of them. So again, first, number one, selling a new policy. We covered that earlier on through our insurance presentations and how you can do that. We'll take a look at that a little bit further in just a second. Next, we have monitoring that policy over time, followed by cross-selling opportunities and presenting those or recommending those to clients and how you can do that. And then finally, enhancing the process of how you work on the conversion or the exchange opportunities. So again, we talked about earlier on selling a policy and how you can use LDA and leverage our tool for that. Now, once a policy is sold, it's issued and it's in force. Either you can use the traditional process that most advisors do by having LDA load in the block of business on your behalf, which will capture any new cliented policy data when we refresh that information. But some advisors might want to do this right away. And because of that, LDA offers a feature called mark as sold or save a policy to the client's profile. So here I'm just on an example case that I've created for my IDC example client. Let's say I presented this to the client, we went through their recommendation, and they determined that as of right now, the term 20 is the best option for them. If I want to, I can leverage the information already inside here and save it into their client profile. So how I would do this is when I'm in the design case page where I put these reports together, there's an option for each plan where I can make an edit to them. Now, this can be used in the presentation format for changing the name of it or providing a description to elaborate more on that specific policy. But along with that, down below, we have some options we can select, such as saving it as a policy to their client profile. We can also mark it as sold, and we have some features coming out soon to help give you some statistics on that as well. So be on the lookout for that. So we can put in a sold date, we can put an issue date in with it, and we can put a specific policy number. So I'm just going to put like DES for Desjardins 123 and hit save. So once I do that, it takes this information and saves it in the client's profile. And because it's saved in the profile, LDA will then see that policy. And once it sees the policy, it gives you the ability to search for it down the road for opportunities, and it will be awaiting key timelines within that policy to notify you of an opportunity. So we could see now the issue date is provided right beside its name, as well as if I click on the client's name, which takes me to their profile, I can now see that policy is inside of LDA. We marked it as in force commissions paid, which means it's an active policy. And now LDA will always keep an eye out for that in case you ever come across an opportunity. But of course, you can always search for this down the road because now it's a part of our client records. So that's how easy it is to, if you want to yourself, track those policies down the road or the new ones. But again, as part of our process for anybody that leverages these features, we can update your block of business as time goes on, and those plans will be captured through the data we get from the insurance carriers. And traditionally, we get it from the carriers because it's the most reliable and accurate source of information. So we're just translating it inside of our system for you. So that's one option. Now, the other one is monitoring the policy over time. So the best way that we can do this is generally through notifications, and LDA primarily our notifications that are automated are for renewal or exchange opportunities, depending on the policy type. But as an advisor, you can also create your own notifications or rely on our notifications, such as a client birthday, to identify a specific client to contact and reach out to them. And just going back to the client section here, I'll go to my manage client page, which we were on earlier. I can type in the name of a client to search them or use the notifications to then access their profile. I'm just going to one of my demo clients here and selecting view on their profile. But when we have all their policies inside of LDA, one thing to notice is, as it should, it consolidates it all inside of one profile. So I don't have a profile for each specific carrier this client has a policy with. But because all this information is all in one, What advisors traditionally do is they leverage our policy summary reports. So what this does is with the click of a button, it takes all their policy information that we've received from the carriers, puts it into a branded white labeled report for you, and shows it in one page, nice and simple. So instead of having to manually create this on a Word doc, a PowerPoint, a spreadsheet, I've seen all of those examples in the past of working with advisors. It's done automatically for you. And you can share it to the clients interactively. We can notify you once they view it, and then give you those statistics back. They can comment on it and reach out to you to schedule a meeting. You can even provide your own custom message with it too, if there's other gaps in their coverage or things to consider down the road, like a renewal, let's say, on their existing policy. So all that is done just by having their policy inside of LDA, or by having your entire policy list in LDA. That's how easy it is to act on the monitoring of that. So then you can initiate conversations with the client, especially if their needs have changed over time. So that leads us now to the third option, which is cross-selling. This is something I feel that is overlooked in the insurance industry, because most advisors relying on the insurance carriers to provide you with notices of renewals. And by not having everything consolidated, it's hard to see the client's full insurance portfolio per se with that method. And because of that, we don't have a systematic process in place to see clients that don't have specific coverage options, such as critical or disability insurance. So because of that, and again, just going back to the client profile, so I'll select our client option to go back to the main page. The nice thing about this is I can easily identify clients that have a full width of coverage, or that have just a specific portion, like just life insurance. So here's an example. Any clients that would be listed here, we see they have life insurance, but if they had disability or critical illness coverage, we'd see that on here. Here's an example of a client that has an existing term policy and they also have disability coverage. So we can quite easily tell clients that we need to reach out to and possibly provide a recommendation of one of those options. And one of the easiest ways we can do that, or at least provide that education or nudge them in that, is in the form of a sample case. So inside of LDA, I'll just go into my managed cases section, which I have open on a separate tab. I have this because I work with advisors all the time showing different scenarios, but a lot of our subscribers, what they do is they create example cases for different scenarios. So here I have a CI explanation case for a 30-year-old male client. So what advisors can do is they can have this for different scenarios, like CI for like a 40-year-old female or whoever. All it takes to do this is to have one sample client for a male and a female, and then we can modify the age per case. So we don't have to have all these different sample clients. We can just have one for each gender and then create the case in that type of way. And to show what that would look like, I've just generated this report where you can see it has the same look and feel. We can even include our own explanation pages. So inside of the explanation page, we can either have text or we can have a web link, which is embedded and accessible in here. So if they click on it, when they review this case, it will open it up on a new link so they can review that content. When you add in descriptions, they come in just like this. So we can see that information being provided in here. And when the clients view the reports, they have that same interactive format where they can view it just like you can when you're presenting it to them. Now, you might be wondering, well, how is this shared to the client? How can I provide them with this report? When you generate a presentation inside of LDA, all of them have an option to share, which I've already clicked on. It produces this website link. And what I can do with this website link is then share it to a client interactively by just copying and pasting it in an email and a text, whatever your preference is. Now, just to simulate that I am on a different device, I am opening an incognito window because Google Chrome would know I'm already logged into LDA if I open another LDA link. But here you can see this is the client view. Here's the report. It has that same look and feel. They can click on that link to access that video. And they can interact with this report just like you can on your own device. So that's one thing that you can do with your clients to help introduce the concept of different product types or different options. You can supplement this with any other preference within your workflow or within your process. But by using LDA for the education of this, it really helps enhance that discussion and that recommendation that you're providing. And again, we have seen advisors implement this and increase their sales this way just because they have a new systematic process in place. And then finally, the exchange or the conversion. So we talked about that earlier on and how you can use LDA's data inside of here from your block of business to show a new recommendation to a client. I'll just show very quickly how easy that is to do, because that's one thing we're known for, is how easy our application is to produce an insurance presentation. So very quickly here, if I'm on the main page of LDA, when I log in and I tell the system I'd like to create a new report, all I need to do is type in the characters of my client's name that I have inside of LDA and select their name that appears from the search. When I continue, it takes their information from the client and policy management side and adds it into the presentation side. So I can start using our Life Guide integration to search the insurance market, or I can leverage the spreadsheet integration we have with the carriers and their illustrators to load in more complex options. But one of the other main benefits is I have the ability to add in their in-force policy by clicking this in-force option that appears for our existing clients. So by selecting that, it brings up all the policy numbers under their profile. So this client has 4 different policies. I'll select that one that I want to show, which is a term 10. And I know it's a term 10 here, but LDA, just for the reporting format's sake, needs you to verify the term length, which I'm doing. So once I click save, it's taking the information from the client side, moving it into the presentation side. So then I can show that existing policy from its current state today versus a new option moving forward. Now, with this, you can see we have the issue date and we have some general information. We always recommend editing the plan, adding in the renewals, because that's something, unfortunately, we need to still get from the carriers if we work with the entire block of business, but everything else here we will get from them. So it makes it very easy to just fill in the rest, hit save, and then continue on. And then from there, I can use our Life Guide integration to search for options. I know I'm going very fast right now, but there will be a recording that's provided afterwards too, so you can see this a little bit further. Or you can reach out to us at the LDA team and we'd be happy to offer a demonstration of the program and how it works. But if I wanted to add in other options, so I'll say like $1 million, 10-year term or 20-year term, excuse me, I can survey the insurance market. I can see the results from least to most expensive. I can select one that I'd like to work with on my presentation. And I can generate a report of just those 2 options, like the existing term versus the new term that I'm recommending. And when I generate the report, it has that same look and feel. It's catered to the plans that I've presented inside of here. So here we can see the existing coverage and how it's renewing in a year versus the new option where it's the level cost for 20 years. And we can see that same style of cost analysis. So that's how easy it is to work on that, just by having all that information embedded in here. So if there's something here that's resonated with you today, whether it's a gap in your current process of how you manage your block of business, or if, let's say, you want to enhance the way you're meeting with clients and educating them about insurance options, I'd highly recommend checking out Life Design Analysis. We offer a free 15-day trial for anybody that's new. It's totally risk-free, meaning we don't ask for any billing information upon enrollment, and you're not committing to anything beyond those 15 days. You can test out all the features of LDA. What we recommend too is that we work on an insurance case together of yours, so you can learn our application and how to use it and see it in action with an actual client scenario. And as an IDC advisor, you get 15% off of our annual or monthly subscription options. So if you'd like to learn more, here's my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me after the webinar today, or just visit our website, lifedesignanalysis.com, and you can get started with that free 15-day trial. So don't know if there's any questions that came up here, but if there is and anyone would like to ask one, I'm very happy to break that down.
My downloads policies from Empire Life, let's say, and put them into LDA. How difficult is that process for someone on the line here that wants to say, you know, I want to get LDA and I want to download my Empire Life policies to the system? How difficult is that?
It's very easy. All we need is your Empire Life advisor code. We'd actually make that request on your behalf for that information. Now, typically with most carriers, they provide you with that data because you're the owner, not us as a third-party software. So
Right.
all you need to do is provide us with that data file, and then we upload it into your account. And then over time, what happens is generally every year or so, we reconnect with you, ask if you'd like an update of that business, and then we can upload the new information too for you.
Yeah, perfect. So it is very seamless and it's very easy to have done. So I want to get that out of the way. The next question that did come up while we were talking here was how receptive are non-Canadians towards LDA? Do you notice any difference between immigrant Canadians and typical Canadians, I guess we'll say, to LDA?
Well, I'd say the one thing every language understands is visuals. It's kind of a reason why IKEA uses pictures with all their instruction manuals, and just showing insurance in a picture. Yes, it's been very receptive for other markets and other people that speak other languages. And you can always add in information to it too, whether it's text-based, whether it's video-based, like I mentioned. So yeah, LDA can be used for everyone because everybody understands a picture. No, thanks everyone for your time.
Thanks very much, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you again soon.